The first one is demand. Demand is the different quantities of goods that consumers are willing and able to buy at different prices. There are two types of demand, which is effective demand and potential demand. Effective demand is when consumers have the ability to buy something. The potential demand is when the consumer don't have the possibility to buy something but will able to buy it in the future. Next is law of demand. When the prices goes up, the consumers buy less goods. But when the prices go down, the consumer will buy more goods. For example, at Zara, the price of 2 perfume is 300,000. But in Victoria's Secret, the price of 1 perfume is 500,000. Obviously, we're gonna buy the Zara one, right? Because the Victoria's Secret one is too expensive. And when we buy the perfume at Zara, we get more quantities of the product than when we buy at the Victoria's Secret one. And this is the example of the law of demand. There are factors that influences demand. The first one is revenue and wealth. There's normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods is when incomes go up, then people buy more of it. When the incomes go down, people buy less of it. For examples like new cars, going to expensive restaurants, and so on. Inferior goods is when incomes go up, people buy less of it. And when the incomes go down, people buy more of it. For examples like Indomie goreng, mie gelas. When people have higher income, they're gonna buy less of it. But people with lower income, they're gonna buy more Indomie or mie gelas, right? Right. And the second one is consumer taste and preference. The third one is price of related goods and services. The fourth one is consumer expectation to price in the future. And the fifth one is total population. The next one is supply. Supply is the different quantities of a good that sellers are willing and able to sell or produce at different prices. Next is the law of supply. When the prices go up, the producer is gonna produce more because it's gonna make more profit. When the price go down, they're gonna produce less because the producer's gonna make less profit. Now that is the law of supply. The factors that affect supply. The first is the production cost, second is the related product price, the third one is total producer, and the fourth one is tax and subsidy. This is the graph of the demand and supply. This line is for the demand, this line is the supply. As you can see, this middle point is called the equilibrium point. Equilibrium is the only place where the quantities of the supplies is equal to the quantities of the demand at the exact price. Here is the excess supply and here is the excess demand. Excess supply is when the quantity of the supply is more than the quantity of the demand. But the excess demand is the quantity of the demand is more than the quantities of the supplies. There's 4 types of elasticity: demand elasticity, supply elasticity, production elasticity, and cost elasticity. In demand elasticity, there is price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and cross elasticity of demand. There are 5 kinds of price elasticity of demand. The first one is perfectly inelastic demand, which is the elasticity of demand is equal to 0. For example, is the land price. The price will increase through the year, but the quantity will not change. The second one is inelastic demand. It's when the elasticity of demand is less than 1. The price is more than the quantity. for example, is daily necessities. The third one is unitary. Unitary is when elasticity of demand is equal to 1. The graph is in 45 degrees angle. The fourth one is elastic demand. Is when the elasticity of demand is more than 1. The fifth one is perfectly elastic demand. It is when the elasticity of demand is equal to infinity. For example, is foreign exchange. In 2010, $1 in Indonesia is 13,000 rupees. And in 2019, the $1 is for example, 18,000 rupees. So the price will be fixed, but the quantity will change a lot.
The second is the income elasticity of demand. It is the ratio of the change in quantity demanded over the change in income. This is the formula and this is the equation. There are two kinds of price elasticity of demand. The first one is normal goods, the second one is inferior goods. Normal goods is when the income elasticity of demand is more than 0. This means that the demand for a normal good will increase as the consumer income increases. There are two types of normal goods. There's superior goods and necessities goods. Superior goods is when the consumer demand is more responsiveness to the change in income. For examples like luxury goods, diamonds, and other stuff. When the people with higher income, they're gonna buy more expensive stuffs, right? And the second one is necessities goods. The example is shampoos, soaps, dish soap, and so on. And then there is inferior goods. Inferior goods is when the income elasticity of demand is less than 0. This means that demand is for an inferior good will decrease as the consumer's income decreases. The cross elasticity of demand. The cross elasticity of demand is the responsiveness of demand for one good to the change in the price of the other good. This is the formula of the cross elasticity of demand, and this is the equation.
Well, that is all for the video. Thank you for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.